Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. And today, as I said, I'm gonna talk about some of the hardest games I've played so far. You know, those games that you want to throw your controller, but you just can't stop playing. Yeah, those kind of games. And I know some of the games on this list aren't the ones that you normally hear, like Dark Souls and Sekiro and other games like that. These are games that I normally like to play or I play throughout my journey. So stick around to see which games nearly broke me. And if you've got any that you think are harder, and I know there are, drop them in the comments. So without further ado, let's get into the intro. First up, it's Super Meat Boy. Now this one's a bit of a throwback. I played it way back when it first came out, and I did manage to beat it, but I've yet to complete it. I know, shame on me. But back then I used to not be a completionist, believe it or not, and the game is just relentless. You'll spend hours trying to master the pixel perfect jumps, wall slides, and dashes. Every single level is like its own mini torture chamber, but you can't help but to keep trying again and again. This game was very popular at the time when it came out, and not a lot of people are still talking about this one. So it did make it on my list of the hardest games because of that. What I love about it is that it always feels like it was your fault when you mess it up, which makes each success so much more rewarding. It's definitely on my list to go back and fully complete one of these days. Who knows, maybe one day I'm gonna make it and talk about this game. I just gotta mentally prepare myself first. Next up, it's Cuphead. I finished this one back in 2023 and man, I felt every single bosses in my soul. The game is absolutely brutal, but in the best way possible. It's got that old school trial and error difficulty where you have to learn each boss's patterns down to the last frame. The art style, absolutely stunning. It's like playing back in the 1930s cartoon, but that doesn't make it any less punishing. The real challenge comes first in the form of those multi-phase boss fights. You think you've got it down, then the boss transforms and you're right back to the square one. I really enjoyed it, but let me give you a piece of advice. Do not play this with your partner or friends. I almost did, and let me tell you, I dodged a bullet by simply playing by myself. I could have picked this one and played with Armea, and I'm glad I haven't done it. I did tell her my experience after completing the game, and I'm pretty sure she was glad that she didn't try it either. It did look fun from the outside if you watch a trailer or anything like that, but man, once you start playing it, it is no joke. Then there's Ghostrunner. This game was an entirely different kind of challenge for me. It's a first-person platformer with a fast-paced combat, and I have never played anything like this before. It took me a while to get used to the speed and precision required. In this game, you die a lot, and I mean it. Some sections have me dying dozens of times before I could figure out the right combination of parkour, dodging, and slicing through enemies. But once you get into the flow, it feels so rewarding. It's one of those games where you can't brute force your way through. You've got to master the timing and really be the Ghostrunner. I did manage to beat this game, but I yet again have to return and complete it. I still have it installed in my computer, so one day I will get back to this game and do that. I also want to try the DLC and play the sequel. I really like the game for its simple story, but mainly the parkour section. Ori and the Blind Forest. This game is beautiful, emotional, and deceptively difficult. The platforming alone is challenging, but where it really gets tough is when you start trying to speedrun or go for 100% completion. There are moments where you fly through an area, pulling off precise jumps, all while dodging hazards, and then there are moments where you really are about to pull your hair, especially when it comes to the tower section when it gets flooded. And I'm not gonna give any more spoilers about this one because it's a beautiful game well worth your time. I had an amazing time with both Ori and its sequel, Will of the Wisp, and by far is one of my favorite games of all time. I've got to say, trying to master everything for completion was a whole new level of difficulty. If you are a completionist like me, you'll know what I'm talking about. Every mistake feels like it costs your valuable time, and nailing those perfect runs can be incredibly satisfying but also incredibly frustrating. I almost threw my controller several several times when I did a couple of sections because I just wanted to get them right. Let's talk about Outward. Now this one is an interesting one because it's a soul-like RPG that my wife and I played together. I know that when people are talking about their hardest games that they have ever played are generally in this genre. So there's no surprise that this game made it on my list. I yet again have to play games like Sekiro, Bloodborne, or Dark Souls, or even Elden Ring, which I have all of them in my PC. Yet I never had the chance to play them, or I avoided them because of the genre being such a punishing and hard way. We had a great time in it, but we didn't manage to actually finish it. It's not a game that holds your hand at all, and you've got to figure everything out by yourself, from managing your resources to surviving brutal enemies. My wife and I aren't typically into this kind of punishing games, and it shows. We had some seriously tough times, but that didn't stop us from enjoying it. Actually, one of the first videos we ever made together featured moments from Outwards, though I'll warn you, the audio quality was kind of terrible, and I'm sorry, we didn't know what we were doing back then, so excuse the bleeding ears if you go out and check it out. Still, there's some couple of funny moments over there as noobs, and we really had a great time. I definitely recommend playing this one co-op if you want to have an easier time. Still, expect, as any other soul-like, to be a lot more challenging, and yeah, this was one heck of a game that one day I'm considering to go back and complete it, maybe by myself, we shall see. And for my bonus game, and this might be coming as a surprise, is The Evil Within. Now this game wasn't too tough on the lowest difficulty, but the hardest mode, well, that's a whole different beast. What made it even more frustrating were the bear traps scattered around the map. Those things killed me more than the actual enemies, especially during boss fights like Laura. So they are your biggest enemies. And games like that and Resident Evil probably have the same kind of vibe. I do like to play them, but I don't like the hardest difficulty, and I don't know why they're a requirement when it comes to achievements. So I don't know why Capcom really likes to do this, but I definitely don't like the challenge in that one. So yeah, imagine battling a huge terrifying boss only to step into a bear trap and die instantly. Yeah, it was rough, but I eventually pushed through. I managed to complete the game, so I'm really grateful for that, and I highly recommend the game if you plan to just simply play it. It has an incredible story and is definitely worth checking out, and as many have said it, it's an underrated gem. So there you have it. Those were the hardest games I've played. If you played any of these, let me know if they gave you as much trouble as they gave me, or if you've got any other harder games, which I know you do, share them in the comments. I try to avoid them as much as possible. I do like to complete games, and when games are hard like this, it's really hard to enjoy them. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more gaming content just like this. My name is Vashral, thanks for watching, and as always, stay safe, take care, and happy gaming.
Just one thing left to send. Stay safe, have fun, and happy gaming. Stay safe, have fun, and happy gaming.